Hello Journey, if you're getting this video this Sunday morning, then that probably means that I am either having a baby or have just had a baby. So this morning I'm going to do a little video and I hope this really entices you and stirs at your core. I don't know if anybody's like me, but before I go on a trip, what I love to do is get some type of brochure or some type of information on the website and anything cool that I can get in regards to the trip I'm going on. So if it's like a cabin that I'm adventuring to in North Georgia or somewhere out in the West in Colorado, I like to see everything that's around in the cabin. You know, does the cabin come with a jacuzzi? Does it come with a game room? And it really excites me about the trip and knowing what I'm going to adventure off to and what I'm going to see. And then I like to get on the websites and anywhere around the area and try to figure out what kind of restaurants are they. Is there going to be some really good food? Where can we eat out at? What kind of fun activities can we do? Are there trails? Are there hikes? To really work me up before the trip to enhance my excitement and get me really excited. And I think this morning, as we continue about God being with us, in the verse in Revelations chapter 21 that I'm going to go through, in a sense, it's kind of like a pamphlet, a brief explanation about what is to come and how God is going to dwell among us, how God is going to come down and be with us, and who God is, and to help us understand Him a little better. And it's kind of funny because when you try to describe the end of the ages and the heavens, it's I think it's so far out of our mind and our concept. It's extremely hard to understand. So most of the time when you hear different areas of end times or heaven and hell being described, they really try to, even John in Revelations try to describe what it's not going to be like. Because the more we try to say I would think the more he tries to say what it is going to be like when God comes down to dwell among us, it's very hard to understand and very hard to grasp our minds around it. So a lot of what he says is what it's not going to be like. So this morning, let's go ahead and dig into this real quick couple verses in Revelation chapter 21. I think most of us have heard it before, and there's just a couple things I really want you to dig in your soul, because just like the pamphlet, I think knowing about the future and our beliefs about what is to come in the future helps us embrace the presence, to embody the presence, to really lift up how we act right now in the presence, knowing what we believe about in the future. Starting in Revelations chapter 21, it says this: "Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and there was no longer any sea." And you think, no longer any sea? That's weird. Why is there no sea? Well, you see in Revelations, John, what he means by sea is the force of chaos, the force of anything that has to be against God's will. That's a lot of the times how sea is described. So when he says that there was no longer any sea, he means that there's no longer any force of chaos. "I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down from heaven, God prepared as a bride beautifully dressed for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, 'Now the dwelling of God is with men, and He will live with them. They will be His people, and God Himself will be with them and be their God. He will wipe every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death, or mourning, or crying, or pain, for the old order of things has passed away.' He who has seated on the throne said, 'I am making everything new.' Then He said, 'Write this down, for these words are trustworthy and true.' He said to me, 'It is done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. To him who is thirsty, I will give to drink without cost from the spring of the water of life. We're going to stop right there for a second in verse 6. And verse 6 is, I think, an amazing verse. I could spend the whole message on this. He said to me, it is done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. The Alpha being the first letter in the Greek alphabet. The Omega being the last letter in the Greek alphabet. When you come to think of Alpha, he always was. No one chose him. No one created him. That God is the beginning. And it's very hard to wrap your mind just sometimes to just sit and think about God as the Alpha. And this morning, and even in Scripture, in Revelations, it's really talking about God as the Omega. God as the end. You see, you have God as the A and the Z, not necessarily the alphabet, but God as the beginning who always was. And God as the end, who will be the end for all of us. It's quite amazing and difficult at the same time. It's like, how do I even understand this? Most of the time, maybe we're not supposed to. But God who always was, a God who always will be, the God that is our end. He is our beginning and our end. And sometimes we think life, our life in the middle of the Alpha and the Omega, and the briefness of our life. What is the importance? Is there importance? I think it is very important, especially when you understand God as the Omega and what the end brings. And that Revelation chapter 21, it says, it is done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. To him who is thirsty, I will give drink without cost from the springs of the water of life. To him who is thirsty. Thirsty for what? Thirsty for God. Another word we can use for thirsty is faith. To the difficult part. I'm going to go on and read verse 7 through 8. He who overcomes will inherit. Let me start again. He who overcomes will inherit all this, and I will be his God, and he will be my son. But, there's always a but. But the cowardly, the unbelieving, the vile, the murderers, the sexual immoral, those who practice magic arts, the idolaters, and all liars, their place will be in the fiery lake of burning sulfur. This is the second death. You see, God is the Omega, the end. He will be the end for all of us. And there are two different roads to that end. In Revelations, it shows that one way is to the river of life, and the other is to the lake of fire. Now, if you just take a second and think about that, God, in all that he is, this reality is kind of terrifying. It should cause tremors in your heart to even think about that God is the Omega. And he is amazing in all that he is. But in the end, there will be the river of life for those that thirst for him, and the river of fire for those that do not thirst for him. And I can't help but think that this, in my soul, in my core, it just eats at me for myself and for the others around me that I love. To know that this moment now, where I am at right now, is an amazing time for me to reach out and draw closer to God for who he is and his effect on my life. This moment that I have now, today, for anybody around me to love and to cherish every moment. Because when the time comes, when God is the end, he will be the end. I am not the end. I can't say the end. I can't dictate the end. God is the end. He is the Omega, and he will come. And for those that thirst for him, eternal life. That he will come and live and dwell among us. That every tear will be wiped away. Anything that would cause a tear, that cause you to cry or mourn. God and his glory, the true glory, something that we might not even be able to understand. So real quick, I'm going to close with this. At one point in my life, I took a hot air balloon ride. And I'm totally afraid of heights. So we go in, we get in this hot air balloon. And as soon as the hot air balloon goes up, I'm already freaking out. And there's one guy who is in control of the hot air balloon, who I assume knows what he's doing. And there's two other people in there with me, a girl and a guy who has camera equipment who's filming this event. And I'll have you know that after about 20 to 30 minutes of this amazing ride in the sky, where everything seemed okay and fine, and I was just really enjoying myself, and I thought I was going to be freaking out because we're so high in the air. Well, after a while, I talked to the, I guess you call him pilot of the air balloon, and I said, hey, what's the deal here? Like, how do we land this thing? How long are we going to ride before? And he just kind of chuckled and he said, John, he said, you look down there, and this was to the back of the air balloon. He said, that's where we were supposed to land. What do you mean that's where we were supposed to land? Like that was our target area to drop this thing? And he's like, yeah, we totally missed it. He was like, the wind was going this way and this way. And listen, right now I don't care about your excuses. We were supposed to land back there. He says, yeah, so here's the deal. What we're going to have to do is this, they call it like a bucket dip. And I'm kind of like, a bucket dip? So what we're going to do is here, I'm gonna scout out some neighborhoods as we continue to float along, and as soon as I see a field big enough, I'm gonna try to drop the air balloon really fast, and we're gonna hit the ground and we're gonna tip the basket real quick. So as soon as the basket comes down, boom, it'll tip over, and we're all gonna fall out. That sounds like a horrible idea, and sure enough, that's what we did. But as soon as he said that, all I could think about is, man, I hope you're right. And as my pilot and my air balloon captain, I just wanted to cling on to him. And maybe this morning, the same situation where you might be saved and in the life raft with Jesus Christ and secure. But in hearing these words this morning in Revelations, even knowing the terrifying reality of God as the Omega, God as the end, that draws us to thirst for Him, even if we're sitting fine in the life raft of our captain. 80-foot winds, gale force winds, waves crashing around, hail, rain. It should send tremors in your heart. And those tremors of all that's going around us, whether it's things of terror that are happening in our world or the terrifying reality of God, should cause us to cling on to Him, to know God more, to thirst for Him, all of us. Tomorrow when we get up, we will thirst. And when you get up, are you going to thirst for God? A loving God? Or are you going to thirst for this world? And in these verses, I pray that as you're in this life raft with Jesus Christ, and you see the waves and the wind and the hail and everything that's going on around you, and even in this season, that it would cause you to cling on to Him, to accept this free gift, the free gift that you can only get if you thirst for Him. Fall on it, embrace it, love Him, and cling on to each other.